Hey everybody, this is Robert Burke. Welcome to When to Play. This is episode number 12. And today we are going to be talking about a game called Island Fortress. So I love the cover of this box. You see the artwork for this cover is just really, really nice. I love the artwork on the game. Island Fortress has a very interesting backstory. I think it deserves to be told here in my video. So I first found out about this game when it was called Hongdai. I think I'm pronouncing it right. It was a game about building the Great Wall of China. And I found out about it through a documentary called Going Cardboard that kind of traces the board game industry, a whole bunch of personalities that you probably know. And in that documentary, they had the designer of this game, Brian Johnson. And they were following his attempts to get this game published. He had worked really hard and finally found a publisher for it back when it was about the Great Wall of China. The publisher eventually went out of business right before they were going to manufacture his game, so he was back to square one. So he went ahead and kickstarted it on his own, and now this game is out in the market. So if you have interest in that backstory, it's definitely worth looking into. It's pretty interesting, and you can see it in that documentary, Going Cardboard. But how is this game as a game? That's the big question. So hopefully in this review, you'll be able to determine whether this is a game for you. All right, so let's talk about the artwork first. I showed you the box, the artwork. There's artwork, you know, all throughout the rule book as well. The graphic design is excellent. There are player boards. The artwork here, again, fantastic. The artwork and graphic design on the cards are great. These are the boards where you will be building the wall on your island, and I'll talk about the theme of the game next, which is also very interesting and very unique. But the artwork is just fantastic. I love it. Well, except for this guy. This guy, no, that guy's all right. He's not the guy. Where's the guy? This guy. The artwork is great, except for this guy. I don't know why. I mean, he's the Taskmaster, so he's supposed to be, I think he's a pretty mean guy, so I think he's supposed to look mean. But he kind of just looks like he's passing a kidney stone. So I don't like that one piece of work. But that's just my personal opinion, right? The rest of the artwork I think is fantastic. Now, the components. The components, for the most part, are really high quality components. The box is nice and thick. The rule book is nice. It's full color. The tokens, the resources. You've got jade, these nice cubes. 1s and 3s. They're nice plastic green resource cubes. Then you've got laborers that are unpainted wood blocks, and you've got convicts that are smaller blocks that are going to do labor for you. You have got buyback chips and treasure tokens. Again, the artwork and design on these are really well done. They're nice and thick. They're just fine. You've got your wall tiles. These are the blocks you're going to be using to build your wall on the Island Fortress. And every player's got their own unique blocks with their own symbol and color. And then you've got governor's blocks. Now these blocks you can earn by getting the favor of the governor, and you can place these for free, which is a big deal. It doesn't really help you score points, but it helps you hinder your opponent, I found, with these. So we'll talk about that in a minute. Then there's also reinforcement tokens, which are also smaller cardboard pieces that are high quality. The first player token, the game comes with 2 of them. They serve exactly the same purpose, these 2. This one I like better. This one has this nice design, this coat of arms design, and it comes with a little plastic stand to help it stand up. This one is, if you like meeples, this is great. It's a big, chunky, wooden starting player meeple. It's hard to stand it up. It doesn't stand up as well as this one does when it's on its stand. But I think this was a stretch goal reward on the Kickstarter. But I would have rather seen them put that money into the player boards, because that's my one complaint. It's the player boards and the game mats and the score track and these little things you put on the side of the board that show you how many points you can score by finishing rows and level. All these little pieces of cardstock, I would have liked to seen them a little thicker, because they're a little bit thicker than cardstock maybe, but they're not cardboard. Now, I understand why, because there are so many pieces here that if they did those all in cardboard, the box would have weighed 10 pounds, right? And it would not have been cost effective. You would have had to sell the game for $150 and it would have cost $100 to ship anywhere. So I understand why they had to go with the thinner cardstock on a lot of those player mats and things. But I did want to mention it. So the game itself, the theme is really neat. I am not sure why Bryan Johnson changed the theme from Great Wall of China to the Island Fortress. And I'm sure the Great Wall of China would have been a great theme as well. But this Island Fortress theme is really unique and works very well with the mechanics. I like it very much. In the game, you're a colonial power, and you found an island that has a lot of jade resources, right? It's got this valuable mineral that you are mining, and you are building a penal colony here, and you're having the prisoners build walls on this island. You're creating a fortress that's a penal colony, and you can protect all that jade that's on this island. So a very neat mechanic. So your resources are laborers that are going to be doing the work, and convicts. And when you're done using your convicts, it says in the rule book that they are killed or they die. So which is kind of scary, but that's what it says in the rules. Once you use them, they're dead, and they go back to the supply though. But the thing is about this is the resources. You always in this game, you always have this need to get the resources to do what you want to do. So it's definitely a Euro game. This is a Euro game where you are collecting resources, but you're not doing it through worker placement. You're doing it through roll cards. So you have these cards that you play, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different cards that you can play. I don't know if there's 5 or 6, but these cards allow you to do different actions on your turn. So you get to choose 3 of these, 3 out of 5 every turn. You get to do some action. Now each card has multiple actions, and you can choose one. So for example, here on the recruiter, you can buy laborers, right, which are the big cubes. Now a laborer is bigger than a convict, but they only count as one when they're actually working to build a section of the wall. But you can convert laborers. You can convert 2 laborers into 6 convicts. Now, I don't know how that works thematically, but bear with me. As far as the mechanics of the game, it works very well. But thematically, I don't know how it works. So you can buy laborers here, and the cost decreases per unit the more you spend. And the monetary unit in the game is jade. You can convert 2 laborers to 6 convicts, or you can collect from prison. So on your on the game board, you'll see there is a prison here, and over here is the camp where you will place your taskmaster, which is just a smaller meeple. So depending on how many boards you have, you will move your meeple to different sections, and you can only build in the section where you have your meeple. All right. So over time, prisoners and jade will collect in the prison on a section, so that will let you take those. So it gets to a point where it becomes valuable to use the last action on this recruiter card. So recruiter basically lets you get labor. Builder lets you build sections of the wall. It lets you build one section for free, or you can spend a jade to build 2 sections or add 2 blocks to the board. And then secondly, it lets you play you can play a completed favor card, which has this royal purple background. Now the favor cards show you a pattern of blocks. So remember, you are trying to put your blocks onto the board to build sections of the wall on the island fortress. So your blocks have your color and your logo on them. Like this is the green one. So you're going to be placing these as you build them onto different sections of the board. Now when you get these favor cards, and you can draw these as one of the actions, the 3 actions that you use on your turn, when you complete a pattern on one of these cards, you can then use an action to reveal it and say, oh, I finished the governor's pattern, I get stuff. So all these, depending on how difficult the patterns are, will give you different things. Like this one, for example, will give you 2 jade and 7 victory points. But some of them will give you less victory points and more treasure tokens. They may give you laborers or convicts or money, jade. It's going to give you something beneficial. And this is one of the main ways you score your victory points to win the game, is by building these patterns in the wall. So you're collecting resources to get the convicts, to get your supplies, to build the sections of the wall, to complete the wall, to score points. And the interesting part are really these patterns that you're building. Now you'll get bonus points for finishing a whole row. If you are the last player to finish a row, then you're going to get some really great stuff. So there's always that tension of, oh, I don't want to build one block there, because if I build one block, then my opponents may finish that row and they're going to get the points and I'm not going to get the points. But after you start building, it comes to a point where you have to make a choice to build something that might put another player in a position to score. But none of the players know what patterns they're trying to build, because those cards, those favor cards, are secret. So that makes things very interesting, especially because of these governor tiles. Now, the first thing you do on a turn is you get money. You get 3 money to start the game. Now, some of the favor cards will add to if you finish a section of wall and you turn that favor card over and score it, you may get extra money every single turn during that phase. All right? And then there's also treasure tokens. So the treasure tokens comes in 1s and 3s. And every 3 treasure tokens that you get, you'll get an extra money during that income collection phase. So there's a bunch of different ways where you can build an engine to get the resources you need. So again, this is a Euro game. You are building an engine to get money, to get resources, to use those resources to do stuff and score victory points. So if you like Euro games, this is definitely a game you need to check out. If you don't like Euro games, if you don't like collecting resources, then this is not a game for you. However, this game has a little bit more conflict in it than a traditional Euro game because of these patterns. So after the income part, you are going to bid for the governor's favor. You are going to take your jade and put it in your hand secretly, and you're going to put it out. And whoever has the most jade in their hand is going to win the governor's favor. They are going to get the first player marker, right? And they are going to get a free governor's tile that they can place in the wall. And they do it for free. And you can do it even in a section of the wall where your meeple is not located. So it's a good benefit, and people do tend to bid to try and get that. But if you win, you've got to get rid of all the jade that you bid, and so now you have less resources to do the other stuff you want to do, right? Because it costs jade to buy sections of the wall. It costs jade to buy convicts or laborers to actually do the work. So there's definitely that management. There's a detailed management that you have to get good at to do well in this game. So when you bid and get the governor's token and you win one of these tiles, the benefit of these tiles is since you can place it for free and you can place it anywhere, you can try to determine what patterns your opponents are trying to build. You don't know for sure, but you want to place these on top of or right next to blocks they've already built, because now you're going to slow them down, because they're going to have to spend resources and time to remove this governor's block and replace it with their own block, because you can only score a pattern on a favor card with your own blocks. The governor's blocks don't count, right? So it's a way, these governor blocks are a great way for you to stop your opponents, or not stop them, but slow them down so you can finish yours before they finish theirs. So it's a very interesting mechanic. There's a little bit of deduction. You're trying to deduce, okay, what pattern are they trying to build? Or maybe you're trying to finish and you've got 1 or 2 blocks left in your pattern to score a bunch of points. So you know that, hey, next turn I've got to win that governor's token. I've got to be able to go first, and I've got to get that governor's wall section so they don't hose me, right? So then you're bidding more. But you've also got to make sure you have enough resources to actually complete your section when it comes to your turn to do that. So, and there's a lot of other actions that you can take besides building. There is a treasurer card. You can play this just to get 3 more jade if you need money. Or you can collect a treasure token. But to collect a treasure token, you have to send 2 of your convicts to jail. So you're going to send them to jail. You're going to lose those convicts, so you can't force them to do labor for you to build wall sections, but you're going to get a treasure token. And remember, these treasure tokens, if you get 3 of them, you're going to get an extra jade every turn. If you get 6 of them, you're going to get 2 extra jade every turn. So that's really neat. Then there are, what's another one I haven't talked about? The Taskmaster. The first one is very simple. It lets you move your meeple from one wall section to another. If you finish the wall section, you want to move over to the next one and work over there. Or maybe you want to work over there to try and get in the way of your opponent who's trying to finish their favor cards. Or you can do B, is pay the repeat cost to repeat any card previously played. So this is another part of the game, and this took us the longest to understand. But you've got these buyback tokens for one, and your Taskmaster card, you can use this to redo an action that you've done on the same turn. So when you play a card, I play my builder card and I build wall sections. I built 2 blocks. I want to build 2 more blocks. I've got all the resources I need. I want to build 2 more blocks. So you would use your Taskmaster card and play that, which would allow you to use your builder card again on the same round to build 2 more blocks, as long as you have the resources to do so. So that really helps, because it speeds up the game for one, right? You never feel like you're stuck and you've got to wait for the next turn. There's usually a way between the buyback tokens and the Taskmaster card to be able to do actions more than once on your turn, the same action. So the buyback tokens, you get these if you finish a row. So if you finish a whole row, like you finish this whole bottom row here, if you're the person that places the block last in that row, then you're going to get some cool stuff. Like on level 1, this is what shows you exactly what you will win, and this goes right next to the board so everybody can reference it easily. But the row is going to get a buyback token and 3 victory points for row 1. So those buyback tokens are great, because if I play the builder card, I can say, okay, I'm going to play my buyback token. I'm going to bring it back again and do it again. That was my second action. Now I can use my Taskmaster and bring it back and play it again. So essentially you could really do it 3 times on your turn. You could do the same action 3 times with these buyback tokens that you win by completing rows. You can also get these in some favor cards if you finish patterns in the wall. But if you don't spend these buyback tokens are worth points at the end of the game, and they scale. So 1 buyback token is worth 1 point, where 2 is worth 3 points, I think, and 3 is worth more than that, and 4 is worth 10 points. I don't know, I forget exactly how it scales, but the more of these you save, the more points you're going to score from them at the end of the game. So I like that too. Is wow, it would really help me to use a buyback right now, but is it worth it? I'm going to give up 4 points if I spend this buyback token. How many points can I gain by using it? So there's all those kind of decisions in this game as well. You're thinking of the end game, right? You are trying to make sure that you can score the most points by completing rows and completing levels. Completing levels, because you're not going to just have one of these boards, right? You're going to have 2 of them and they're going to be connected. So you're going to move your Taskmaster or your little meeple between these 2 to build sections of the wall. If you build 1 row on a section, you finish the row. If both of them on row 1 are completed, then that level is completed. And when that level is completed, you count all the blocks, and whoever has the most blocks is going to get a benefit as well for completing the level. So for level 1, it's 1 treasure token. So the level rewards aren't as great as the row rewards, but there's a benefit there as well. And then you're going to score victory points as you go up the wall as well. So, again, I think if you're a casual gamer, this is not a game for you. It is mid to heavyweight Euro game. If you like a little bit of conflict in your Euro games, it is here. Because, again, you can hose your opponent out of completing patterns by successfully placing these governor blocks in their way. So there are ways to kind of get your opponents in this game. Kind of like in a worker, this is not a worker placement game. In a worker placement, you can hose them by taking a spot that they really want to use. In this game, everybody has access to the same exact cards. They have their own set of cards with the same exact actions that they can take. So the way you hose your opponent here is by placing those governor blocks in spots that they need to use to score points. It's also it's a race to try and get victory points by completing rows and levels. But you can't just run and do it, right? If you leave one spot open, your opponent's going to move over and place 1 block there, and he or she is going to get the points. All right, so you really have to think about your block placement. So you've got to get the resources you need to do it. You've got to do all those Euro management things that are so important in a Euro game. But you also have to think tactically and strategically about where am I going to place my blocks, which favor cards am I going to keep, and which am I going to get rid of. How am I going to make sure I complete as many of these as possible to maximize my points? So if you're a Euro gamer, if you like resource management, if you like a little bit of stabbing your neighbor in the back, not a whole lot, but enough to keep it interesting, then this is definitely a game you need to try. I really enjoyed it. It took us a while to get the game. Again, I don't think the rule book is the best. It is sufficient. It will make clear when you read through it a couple times, everything will become clear. And playing through it, we had to refer back to the rule book a bunch of times. But eventually, after 1 game, you're going to understand how to play it. So it's not horrible. It's just not as clearly laid out as I would like. So if you have a problem learning to play games from the rule book, that could be an issue here. So I would suggest you have somebody teach you the game. If you're the kind of person who likes learning games from rule books, then you won't have a problem. All right, so that's something else to consider. So I think that's about it. If you're a casual gamer, this is not for you. If you don't like Euro games, this is not for you. If you do like Euro games, especially resource management, if you like a theme that sucks you in to what's going on and ties to the mechanics well, this game does that very well. So if you like those things, I think Island Fortress is definitely something you should check out. I'm going to be keeping this one for quite some time, I think.